Welcome back to the Bold Moves podcast. This is episode 16. We are really making headway here. We are becoming something very special. It is Sweet 16, and we're excited to talk about the idea of gentleness today when we're talking about the fruit of the Spirit. And that's something, to be clear, people don't typically, tell you like, hey, this is something nice about you. Let me flatter you with these words. You're a gentle person. Yeah. It's not really something that people look forward to. Like, oh, I hope someone calls me gentle today or notices that I'm gentle, right? It's something that kind of overflows out of us. It's exemplified in the way that we treat others, right? And I love how it's identified and defined in the scriptures, in the Bible. It says in the fruit of the Spirit, in that specific passage of scripture, that gentleness is also known as the word meek, which no one really knows what that means. How do you define that? And the best way to define that attribute is it is strength and it is power that is under control, that shows restraint. And so when you talk about this idea of gentleness, it captures much more than just someone who's mild-mannered or who's a pushover. And I think that's kind of what we associate that with, gentleness. Oh, I don't stand up for anything. I'm just a pushover and let anything go. Well, no, that's not really what we're going for here. It's a completely different thing. Yeah. And I think that's probably to be noted because I think in our society, sometimes we're hesitant to stand out. Like, I got to choose the battle I'm going to fight carefully because cancel culture and it can go sideways fast, right?
Right.
But it is strength restraint. It's knowing when to stand up and be strong and knowing the difference of when that's the best move and when it's best just to show restraint and to actually exude that fruit of gentleness, which is amazing. I mean, when you think about it.
You talked about picking your battles. The point is the point is not to pick zero battles.
Yes.
Right.
There are going to be battles you have to fight.
Yes.
Jesus came into the temple and started flipping tables. There was a point where he got angry and said, this is enough. This is where I'm taking my stand. Yeah. And there are definitely moments where we're called to lead, we're called to take a stand, and that's going to happen in the course of life. And that takes courage, and that's a whole other attribute. It's a completely different side of everything to show restraint in those moments and to recognize, like, with wisdom, not with weakness, like, I have the ability to crush this person right now, but I'm going to show restraint. Just because I can doesn't mean I should. Sure. And it's knowing the difference.
It makes me think about, this is maybe kind of a weird analogy, but like when I go car shopping, you get in the car, you test drive the car, right? And one of the things that you do when you test drive a car is you put the accelerator on the floor and see how fast can it pick up speed.
Do you do this with the car salesman in the car with you when you go on these test drives?
There's no car salesman in the car. I will not allow that. I'm going to test this car for real, not have somebody looking over my shoulder.
That's beautiful.
But the point of that for me is I need to know that if I push my car, that it has the ability to jump out. And like, that's a safety feature as far as I'm concerned. Like,
I like how you... Look at how he framed that.
Is that how you justify and the horsepower
things? It's a safety feature.
I'm not
Is that
joking.
what you say when you get a ticket? It's a safety.
It's a safety ticket.
I'm just kidding.
I've only gotten one ticket ever. I promise.
Safety ticket.
Safety ticket. But sometimes you're driving, you have to jump out in traffic and catch up and not be the jerk that jumps out in traffic and slows everybody down. So that's sort of what it is. Like, I don't ever want, like, the point of it is not to go 150 miles an hour. The point is, can I get... Oh, okay. I hope you understand what I'm saying. You guys understand what I'm saying, right?
Yes, we're tracking. We're just giving you a hard time. It's fantastic. When I think about strength that is restrained, like power that is controlled, I always have this picture in my mind of the guy at the circus who's standing in that enclosure with all the lions and the tigers, right? And all of these things are lined up, like doing exactly what this random person who's standing in the middle of the ring tells them to do. And you know that at any given moment, if that lion or that tiger decides, I'm going to eat that guy, he can absolutely tear him apart. Yeah.
Wait, are you talking about the Tiger King?
No, I knew that would come up. I knew that would come up if I started talking about the guy in the circus. Yeah. And now my mind goes back to the beginning of COVID, because isn't that how COVID started?
That was a great time.
Everyone in the world watching Tiger King. Yeah.
I gotta believe that show never would have taken off if it wasn't for COVID.
There's no way it would have been the phenomenon that it was.
We had to be bored and at home to do that.
Yes. Yeah. So, I don't know if the Tiger King or Carol Baskins, was that her name, showed gentleness or restraint. I don't know if there's any good examples there.
To each other, but not often.
Did they? I don't think they're good examples at all. No, this attribute, though, of gentleness, meekness, it's having that self-restraint to know that just because I can doesn't mean I should. And it's having the wisdom to know in what situation I do choose to fight that battle and lead and be courageous, or knowing the difference between when that's the play and when the right play is, I'm going to be gentle.
Right.
And so I think that lends itself to, I think, introspection, looking at different areas and relationships in your life where you're dealing with, like, I'm dealing with a difficult moment. How do I address this? Those are things to consider. Mm-hmm. And what's interesting is that if this is a fruit of the Spirit in our life, a fruit of Jesus in us, shining through us and overflowing out of our hearts, the way that we treat others in light of gentleness, that matters, right? Because Jesus treats us with gentleness. He doesn't treat us as he should or as he could. He is patient, he is kind, and he is gentle. And I'm thankful for that, because I know I deserve more than that.
Yeah. Like when I think about me as a dad, for example, I'm trying to be patient with my girls who are growing up.
Yep.
And I want them to grow up and to think of me as somebody who's slow to anger and doesn't raise my voice quickly or easily. Yes. I don't nail that every time by any means, but that's the goal, right? Is that because I can say that, let's say, about my grandpa, who I spent a lot of time around up until like my mid-20s. I can say that for sure. Like, I never saw him raise his voice to anyone. Never saw him really get upset or anything like that. And to me, that exemplifies the character of Jesus when we talk about gentleness is something like that.
Yeah. It's power that's under control. It's strength that is restrained. Yeah. And that's a powerful concept.
Sure.
We do have a good friend who's joined us for 5 good minutes today who would like to speak into this a little bit more. You guys are very familiar with him. You worked with him for years.
Who is this?
His name is Dustin Wine, and he is here to join us today for 5 good minutes.
We've been gentle with him.
We have been gentle. Let's give a warm welcome to Dustin Wine.
Dustin.
We are with Dustin Wine, getting ready to spend 5 good minutes with our dear friend. Dustin, welcome to the Bold Moves podcast. We're glad to have you with us, man.
It is so good to be here. I've been looking forward to this moment. Best 5 good minutes you've ever had.
Yes.
Are you ready?
Let's go. That's why we've got you. It is great to see you. You know what? For those who are newer to Crossroads, Dustin was part of our team and part of our family for... What was it, 4 or 5 years? How long were you guys here, Dustin?
It was more like 6 or 7.
That seems like a lot longer. I was trying to be nice. So speaking of the thing of gentleness, this is not a good start for us. That was not gentle at all. Dustin, you've got some good insights. We bring people on this podcast to drop nuggets of gold, some wisdom on us. And you've got some great stuff, man. Talk to us about gentleness. Yes. What is that to you?
Well, first, we talk about fruits of the Spirit. One of the things I think, you think about that, Jesus obviously speaking, this is an analogy in the New Testament, right? And so Jesus often uses dirt and growing things as a metaphor for what happens in our life. Sure. I think when talking about the fruit of the Spirit, I've been thinking a lot about lately the parable of the sower. And in the parable of the sower, Jesus says, hey, there's a farmer who is God, and there's seed, which is the truth about Jesus. This is the good news. And he, scatters the seed. And we see God being this good farmer who scatters it everywhere, even over soil that's not ready for growth. But the thing is, the different soils change the way the seed works. The seed doesn't change, but the soils do. And I think, just think about it that way. When God's truth enters a good heart, it produces fruit, and it produces fruit 100-fold.
That's good.
And so I think, when you think about that, one is some of our hearts aren't ready. And so maybe we're not experiencing fruits of the Spirit. And it's because we probably haven't paid much attention to our heart and the condition of our heart. But then I think, all of us want more of the fruits of the Spirit. No one's like, I don't want any goodness or love in my life. But these aren't things that you go out and produce yourself. These are things that are produced in you because of the relationship you have with Jesus. And I think that is one, just anytime I think about any fruit of the Spirit is like, okay, so if I desire more love and joy and peace in my life, it's going to come from being closer to Jesus,
That's a good word.
And so that's, and then gentleness, which is, everyone's first choice to talk about when you talk about gentleness. In fact, I think anytime I list gentleness, anytime I list the fruits of the Spirit, like, it's like, okay, everyone love, joy, peace, patience. If you don't know those, right, you can get those. And then you kind of make up goodness. I never remember gentleness, right? It's in there, I think, right?
That's so good.
And perhaps it's because I don't know if, I don't think anyone wants to be called gentle. The
gentle giant. Nobody likes that moniker.
Giant somehow. I think go ahead and call someone a gentle giant this week and see how they are you calling me fat? I don't know what's I don't know what's happening a week. I don't know. So I don't.
That's hilarious.
I don't think anyone's signing up to be called gentle. But at the same time, it's in the list.
Yes.
And I think, as I think about gentleness, to me, it's more of it's not something you go out. It's like, I'm going to be gentle today.
Right.
I want to focus on the way at gentleness.
Yeah.
But I think gentleness is a way in which you do things.
Yes.
And I think we've all been on the opposite end of somebody who's trying to do something maybe good, but they've done it the way you do things matters.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think it's not just saying things. You can say something, but the way you say something, if you're in a conversation with your wife, and you want to tell her something, the way, hey, that shirt makes you look terrible, right? Wow, cool.
Is that something you have to say often, Dustin?
I say it all the time.
Anyway, that's a whole other topic.
Yeah,
Let's bring Dustin back on for a marriage and family episode.
Yeah.
I can't wait. I've got some encouraging, life-giving words for that episode. But we've all been on the other end of somebody saying something's wrong with your face. Something's going on. We've been on those conversations. But it's not just and sometimes that's good truth for us to hear.
I honestly, Dustin, feel like that might only have been you. I don't know that I've ever experienced that. Yeah.
Okay, well, let me rephrase that. I often have people tell me that something's wrong with my face. But
it's so good.
Which part are they usually talking about?
Yeah, well, I think everyone knows. I think we all know.
Hey, so let's talk about this for a second though, because gentleness, to your point, not everybody wakes up thinking I'm going to be gentle today or looking for that compliment. Oh, you're gentle. Because I think in our culture, we all want to be strong. It is strength that you're going for. And there's something to be said about the character and the quality of gentleness that captures this idea that it's actually strength restrained. I could crush you today, but I'm not going to. I am actually going to show gentleness. And it's nobody is bragging about their gentleness, right? In culture today, it's all how strong you are, the power that you have. So I think when you actually have the ability to exhibit gentleness, God is flowing through you. People see that because it's so different. Would that be a fair assessment of that?
Yeah, and I think and again, it's the way in which you approach things too is it's not trying to assert your strength. It's actually about the way that you share love with people is gentleness, and that's something you see in the way Jesus operated. The way Jesus was, even as he's challenging, in most cases, even as he's challenging people, he does it in a way that's gentle. And so it's not abrasive. It's not look at me. And there are times I think we want to stand for truth, but yet we do it in a way that is not considerate of other people's feelings.
That's a good point.
Not considerate. We don't do it gently, and so we may be doing something that's true and right, but it's not in the way that Jesus would have us do it.
And that matters. They used to say you can be right, but if you have the wrong attitude, you're wrong. I think that plays. If you can have the right stance, the right thing to say, but if you're not gentle, it can send a completely different message. That's a good word. Dustin, dude, dropping knowledge all over us today. This is fantastic. I do have a sincere question though. When we talk about being gentle, having strength, but it's restrained, would there be any examples of maybe your time when you were at Crossroads where people kind of tested your patience and you just decided, I am going to be gentle, even though this person is just annoying me to no end? I mean, are there any names that come to mind? Probably not.
This is so bad.
Well, listen, I was on staff for a while.
There's a lot of people. Yeah.
Dealt with a lot. And it was more of how I responded to people when they just did dumb things. You know what I mean? Like just responded with patience and gentleness. Yeah. I mean, I think one first name, Micah, Pastor Micah is one. She comes to mind. Let's see, Pastor Anthony, he comes to mind. Some of these others. Stop. Earmuffs, Corey, he comes to mind.
Wait a minute.
Did I keep going, or are we?
I feel like I'd be a couple. No, let's
Corey,
stop right there.
Did you always feel like Dustin was gentle with you?
Typically, yes, but I didn't know there were any issues there.
It was top three annoyer.
Dustin, we talked about this before we started.
You're right. My bad.
We've moved on.
Much love, by the way, to Micah and Anthony. Oh, yeah. We love them very much. Yes, that's true for you, Dustin. Not for me. Not for us. That's just true to you. They don't annoy anybody else. Just you.
Speaking my truth. The Bold Moves podcast.
That's so good. Hey, Dustin, it's good to see you, man. And we're just thrilled for you. Give us the update. What's going on where you're at? Tell us about your world right now. What's going on?
Yeah, well, hey, it's an honor to be a part of this. I love you guys. I love Crossroads. I miss being around what you're doing. It's so it's an honor for real for me to talk to you guys. But I'm currently the pastor at Williams Lake Church in Waterford, Michigan. It's the place I grew up. I love it here, and really, God's doing incredible things here at our church. And to be honest, we're just a lot of great things. We're baptizing a bunch of people.
That's awesome.
And so God's on the move here. And if you are from Crossroads and you come up, you will be very comfortable in the way we're doing things. And so I would invite anyone who wants to come to Michigan, come on up, man. It'd be great to see that. So, yeah.
Well, Dustin, it's great to see you, and we're proud of you, man, and we're cheering you on from here at Crossroads. Sure. It's great to have you on, and we will see you again soon, my friend. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Those were 5 great minutes with Dustin. I love that guy, and we are cheering him on where he is in Williams Lake.
For sure.
He actually had a really good thought there, which I don't know why I'm surprised by that. He actually had some good stuff there.
For once.
I love what he had to say about the soil, because the soil is your heart. Like, the condition of your heart is going to determine how God can use you and how people can see him working in you and through. That matters. And the soil of your heart, it's so important that your heart is tender to the voice of God. Funny thing about my childhood growing up, the house that I grew up in was about a half mile away. We found out years later from one of the most toxic dump sites in all of America. It was like a top 5 toxic dump that's right here in Elkhart, Indiana, from the old Miles Laboratories. That was their gift to our area.
Are we surprised?
Probably not, yeah. I mean, fun story. I used to go like hiking out in the woods there. I would fish in the little pond there. Thankfully, never ate anything out of there. But yeah, I was playing back there in those woods. It was a toxic dump. So that's awesome.
So that's what happened?
High quality soil is what gave the world this.
Now we know.
Now we know. It's hilarious. But yeah, I mean, it matters. Like, there was all kinds of lawsuits because like the water flow underneath, thankfully it went away from where we grew up, but it caused all kinds of health problems in the communities around there. It's like, are you kidding me? So like, the soil quality of your heart, it matters. Like, is your heart tender to the things of God? And when it comes to interacting with people, the influence that we have, if we can have that fruit of the Spirit in our life overflowing, that gentleness, where I know in a single moment I could crush this person with a single word, but I'm going to choose to be gentle. I think people are probably more desperate for that in the culture we live in today than we know.
Yeah, and we had a little bit of a discussion earlier about how like meekness means power under restraint.
Yes.
And we're just kind of thinking like, if you have a long history in your life of being gentle, not being quick to react, not being quick to anger.
Yes.
In one of those instances where it's the right thing to use that power.
Yes.
It makes that much more of an impact.
Oh, yeah, where you're not overusing that too much.
It's like the whole boy who cried wolf scenario, right?
You can't get angry and upset about everything. Like, so when you do, that's a significant moment. People notice.
Yes.
Yeah. That's a valid point. I agree. Gentleness at the end of the day is one of those things where you have to have the wisdom to know when to do it. And we're going to get tried. We're going to get tested. I feel like Kristen, the role you are in with social media, you probably have opportunities all the time to see people who are being idiots. You're like,
just about every time we run an ad, we get some kind of comment. It
Fantastic.
seems like, like, oh boy.
Would you say that social media is a space where people tend not to have restraint? Is that,
oh no.
Is that
absolutely
so
no
the MO
restraint
for people?
there.
That's so true. Not a good breeding ground
Keyboard
for the fruit of
warriors.
the spirit. Yeah.
No.
Oh man.
Is there a main topic that you see that's like as the main player and getting
holidays,
comments?
whether it's Christmas with Santa Claus or Easter with the Easter Bunny. Those are,
okay. Like how could we be a real church and we had like an Easter egg hunt or something like? Got it.
Not real.
Got it. Yeah. So just being willing to show restraint and not say, all right, stop being dumb.
Listen, type it out.
And then delete it. that is such wisdom. I've done that so many times.
I've done that.
You ever accidentally sent one that you wrote out?
That's
a yes. Got it.
Maybe.
Okay, so we're going to be gentle. We're going to show restraint.
Yes.
That's what we're going to do. I love this. As we wrap up this concept, maybe be thinking about in your world, in your life, the people who try your patience the most. It's like gentleness is putting up with the people you want to put down. Like, let's remember that. Who needs that patience? Who needs that kindness? Who needs that gentleness? I think oftentimes if we're willing to identify those people in our lives that test us the most, they're the ones who are more desperate than anyone for that act of kindness and for that gentleness.
Yeah.
And
Tim, hold on, time out.
Yeah.
We've never really talked much about the art wall.
Yeah, what do we got? What do you see?
Art on the wall.
Yeah.
This whole time you've been talking, Jeff Goldblum looks like the most gentle with that velociraptor.
He does. The way he's holding the velociraptor. What a ridiculous picture.
Dressed as like a disciple. He's gentle.
It's the picture of gentleness.
It is.
Jeff Goldblum holding on to the velociraptor. So that's our word picture, our illustration of gentleness today that we walk away with. It's the Jeff Goldblum picture. Yeah.
So ridiculous.
Special thanks to Remington Ink Source for finding us this picture for our background. It's fantastic.
Thanks. That's one way to say it.
I love it. So guys, when we're talking about being bold, when it's time to make your move and it involves gentleness. Ooh, this week it's show restraint. That's the boldest thing you can do sometimes is just be gentle and let that fruit of the Spirit in your life overflow out of your heart. Yeah, that's the word for today. Guys, thanks for joining us. Again, when it's time to make your move, be bold. We'll see you next time.